My interest in digital characters living inside my game systems goes way back, much further than you'd expect. When I was a kid, I loved this Commodore 64 game called Little Computer People. A guy named Hal would go about his day, sleep, read, and even journal at his typewriter, and I just kind of watched, making sure he had enough water and food to survive. The concept was cool, and if you ever had a Tamagotchi or Gigapet, or played Nintendogs or The Sims, you know just how far the genre's evolved. So it was probably about time for it to come to VR, this time with the Hubris developer at the helm with Walltown Wonders, where an entire virtual town could live inside the walls of your apartment. Okay, so unlike the Quest version, they're not actually living in your walls. On Quest with mixed reality, Walltown Wonders let you use your actual room as the foundation to build your town. There's no way this would work for me, as my apartment is super tiny, and I have practically no empty wall space. Fortunately, when bringing Walltown Wonders over to PSVR2, developer Cyborn ditched the mixed reality and gave us 3 virtual locations to exist in, each with plenty of wall space, countertops, and floor space for your growing village. These places look pretty decent. Not quite photorealistic, but close enough to give the illusion that you're someplace else. And everything looks decent. From a distance, the buildings and townfolk don't look super detailed or sharp, but Walltown Wonders lets you get right up there and see all the cool details that this miniature town and the characters within it have to offer. Great animations, all running at 90 frames native.
Hello. Hey! Hello.
Walltown Wonders is structured like your standard city builder, where you have to slowly add farms, restaurants, shops, and airports that are built into the wall, but your progression is limited to what resources you have. Some places generate iron ore, wood, food, or money, and the more you have, the more you can build. Some of these places will auto-generate materials for your town, and some will offer up mini-games that let you play to gather specific resources. Every new building introduces a new character to your town, and upgrading your town hall lets you upgrade all your other buildings. It's a nice little gameplay loop that's laid back and cozy, and there's never really any pressure to do anything. And if it was all implemented better, I think I'd love it. Unfortunately, nothing about Walltown Wonders feels like it was well thought out at all, and the problems start right from the beginning. The UI and menus are laid out poorly, and sometimes let you use the laser pointer, and sometimes force you to use your finger. For an MR or a VR game, it is so menu driven. To upgrade any of your buildings, you have to go into a menu and then select it. It's like, why isn't there just something cool on the building itself, right? Like, it would be so cool if all these buildings had like these levers attached to them, and you went over and you pulled the lever when it was time to upgrade it, and it was like boom, 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 and it upgraded to level 3 or level 4. Initiating conversations with the villagers requires you to point at the word bubble and hit X instead of just hitting X. None of the mini games are any fun, and the controls for them feel sloppy, and at least one of them was just broken for me before launch, although the devs are aware of it and are working on a patch. Touching butterflies to paint them a different color, pushing a button at the right time to hop back and forth between these boats, bouncing a ball of fertilizer from a blimp to a farm. This is when it all becomes obvious that this game was built for mixed reality, because I can almost see how growing plants out of your hardwood floor would be kind of cool. But in a straight up VR game, these activities just aren't cutting it. You can send different characters on dates, none of which have any personality, so even 8 hours in, I don't care what happens to any of them. They don't give you a chance to connect with these characters. It's all because you only talk to them when it's time for a mini game, or you're building something, or whatever. You don't really get to know these characters at all. And so it would have been cool that, like, during the downtime between building stuff up, if these characters are just kind of like hanging out on their porch, and you just walk over and be like, hey, what's up? Right? And you get to know them. And then you're like, oh, what kind of person do you like to date? Because then maybe I can be like matchmaker, but it's so random. What you're doing is so random, and so you don't end up caring about these characters, and you don't end up caring about who they're dating or whether the date goes well or it doesn't go well. It's just really weird. Like, it feels so tacked on, and watching the date go down is just boring. And nothing here feels quite right. Different mechanisms will pop out of your hands so that you can fend off bugs, seed the ground, or water plants, but none of them take advantage of the Sense controller's haptics or adaptive triggers, making it all feel cheap. And there's this long wait after you finish each minigame, where you have to wait for the music to end before you can get back to playing the regular game, as if the minigames are completely separate and not integrated into the rest of what you're doing. The smooth turn will often jolt you in one direction, almost like it's doing a click turn before the smooth turn. Sometimes the environments push you around when you're first loading in. I even got completely pushed outside at one point and had to restart the game. when you're playing a game and all you can think is, man, if I made this game, I would have done it this way. Or I would have done this. This would have been so much better if you did it this way. They had this opportunity, AJ, Sirens on my end, to make the VR version of this special. And I know that what I'm about to suggest would require a lot more work. But I think it would be so cool if, because now you're in full VR, you could actually make this happen. When it's time to pilot that plane and go catch a bunch of butterflies or fly through some rings, instead of trying to maneuver it with your hand, which just is so imprecise and such a pain in the ass, bro, you can put us into first person now. You can shrink us down to the size of one of these villagers and let them see the village at their scale and let us fly that plane around in first person. Normally, I don't care about mixed reality, but it's pretty clear to see that Walltown Wonders loses a lot of its appeal without it. None of the issues I mentioned here are game-breaking, but there are a lot of them. So if you can come to terms with all the bugs, all the menus, and how disjointed it all feels, you might find yourself enjoying this one more than I did. It's got a great art style and quite a bit of charm, but for a game that's supposed to be cozy and relaxing, I found myself way more frustrated than I wanted to be. I didn't care about the citizens of my town even 1% as much as I cared about Hal back on my Commodore 64, and walked away thinking less about how charming Walltown Wonders is, and more about how much better it should have been.